St. Jude is my hospital because of the tremendous amount of care and compassion that they've had during my treatments. The doctors and the nurses on staff have been incredibly compassionate to what my needs are, and have done a wonderful job in making sure that they keep me uplifted and my spirits up.
St. Jude is my hospital because of the incredible staff they have here and making me feel welcome, especially when I had my child in the NICU for 6 weeks in a row. So they actually made me feel a part of the family, the NICU family, and not just like a visitor come and go. And also kicked me out of the NICU to tell me to go get some fresh air and actually enjoy myself at this time, and that my child was in the safest hands possible. So I wouldn't choose any other hospital but St. Jude.
St. Jude is my hospital because they're an excellent facility close to my house. I first learned about St. Jude when my mother-in-law was there. I spent many, many days visiting her over the course of about 3 months. I saw how great the staff was, the nurses, the doctors, and so when I became sick, it was an obvious choice to go there, and I've been very, very happy. I've been there more often than I'd like, but it's been a great experience every time.
St. Jude is my hospital because they are family. So our first visit here, we were greeted at 3:30 in the morning in the NIC unit by a wonderful nurse who just threw her arms around me, and from that moment on we felt like we were family and very connected. And here it is 5 years later, and we still have that feeling.
St. Jude is my hospital of choice because of the doctors and the nurses. I was diagnosed with leukemia in February of 2011 and was admitted to the hospital hours later. My doctor and nurses were so caring and made me feel comfortable and made my family feel comfortable throughout the whole process. I spent close to 75 days in the hospital, not consecutively, but the doctors and nurses were great. They explained everything to me and my family in detail and made us comfortable. I thank them for saving my life.
St. Jude is my hospital because I didn't feel as though I was a number, and I came in with a very, very hard situation. We had lost 4 babies previously, and St. Jude just really gave us the care that we needed. We found home here. We found love and support where we didn't find it anywhere else. And that's why St. Jude is our hospital.
St. Jude is my hospital because from the moment I was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer in May of this year, I have never felt so loved and taken care of by a staff. And the doctors, the nurses, everybody has been phenomenal. And I cannot believe the level of dedication that they have towards their patients and how well they have taken care of me. And as of now, I have a clear PET scan, and it's because of St. Jude.
St. Jude is my hospital because of the love and care that all the doctors and nurses gave my daughter, who came 11 weeks early. Without them, she would not have survived, and I can't thank them enough.
St. Jude's is my hospital of choice. I'm a 2-time breast cancer survivor. Both times I was just amazed at the level of dedication, at the education and how much the doctors educated me in the process that I would be going through. They partnered with City of Hope. I did the genetic testing. I just felt like it was a worldwide team, not just the colleagues in Fullerton, but everybody lifting me up and supporting me and loving me and caring for me. And I truly believe that I'm alive today because of St. Jude's.
I feel that St. Jude was my hospital. It's because when my baby was born not well, they knew exactly what to do. And, sorry, he got the best care possible. And great doctors. And he was diagnosed and treated, and he just got better. I'm going to take him home.
St. Jude Medical Center is my hospital because it's always been my hospital. My dad was on staff there for 40 years, and it's just where we've always gone. I worked at St. Jude Medical Center for a few years, and I can't imagine going to any other hospital. They've taken such good care of so many of my family members and my friends, and it's just a blessing to have in our lives, and there's no other hospital I'd ever go to.
St. Jude is my hospital because when we had our little son, he was in the NICU, and we were able to visit him basically almost as much as we wanted. We were there at every visit we could, multiple times throughout the night, and they just gave him such great care that over the past 4 or 5 days that we were there, it began to feel like home, because that's where our son was. It turned what is usually known as a negative experience into a very positive experience, and we walked away from our experience at the hospital feeling like St. Jude was part of our family.
St. Jude is my hospital because number one, it's faith-based, and that's very important to me in my healing process. And then and also I like St. Jude because technologically they're very advanced, latest equipment. It's a beautiful hospital. The doctors, nurses, everybody's so good to you there. And that's what I like about it.
St. Jude is my hospital because they're not only the local hospital, but they were one of the main places in the neighborhoods that have really helped my daughter out. She was born 3 months early at 24.5 weeks and had a series of complications. And she had such a great staff there to really watch over her. We bonded well with all the nurses and the doctors and the neonatologists and directors, and I felt really comfortable spending all the time, all 3 months or 3.5 months with them. She did marvelously well as the weeks and months progressed, and just to see her grow, see the care, and see the commitment that they provided for her was truly outstanding, and that is why they are my hospital.
St. Jude is my hospital because I was diagnosed with 4-stage non-Hodgkin's lymphoma and lung cancer. St. Jude was my home for 24-hour chemo, 5 days a week, off 15 days. I couldn't have done it without the support of Dr. Park, Kathy Ritchie, and the team up on the 5th floor. And I am so forever grateful to that hospital and to those people for that reason. I'm alive. If it happened 5 years before that, if it wasn't for the fundraising and things like that, I wouldn't have made it. I would have been dead. And so I'm so happy to be here, and thank you.
St. Jude is my hospital because our little girl was born at 24.5 weeks. It definitely was a surprise for me and my husband. No one ever thinks, I think, that they would have their baby that early. And we were here with her for 3.5 months. So this really became our second home. Getting to know all the doctors, getting to know all the nurses, and how much they loved her and just took care of her. And so we're eternally, grateful and indebted for how they've really helped our family to just really to be what it is today. So we're thankful.
St. Jude is my hospital because of its convenience, because of the wonderful staff, and how many wonderful results, good results that I have had myself and my friends have had by coming to St. Jude.
St. Jude's my hospital because of the spirituality factor. I feel like it was really very comforting to be here when my daughter was born with the imperforated anus, and so it was just really a difficult time for me and my family, and we had a nurse, Leslie, come in and pray with me, and that was just extremely comforting, and it's one of the reasons why I really love this hospital.
St. Jude is my hospital because they are very professional, and they saved my life. The doctors, the staff have been fantastic. I would like to say a little bit about the staff underneath the doctors. They are fantastic. You call them, they don't know something, they'll call you back. So I'm very appreciative, very.
St. Jude is my hospital because they take wonderful care of my babies. First, my daughter, who was my firstborn, she had some difficulties because I had a fever in labor, and she had to stay a little bit longer, and the hospital took such great care of her, and they took great care of me as well. And that time it was really difficult for us. And my second baby, who had a brain bleed, and he had trauma there, so the hospital took wonderful care of him, and he passed away, but the hospital took such great care of us, and they were there for us through the whole process. So I was so glad to deliver my third baby here, and St. Jude has always been very, very good to my family. That's why they're my hospital.
St. Jude's my hospital because for the last 17 years, I've been a volunteer with Walk Among the Stars for the cancer survivors, and this year I found myself with cancer and have been treated at the Crossan Center with excellent care with Dr. Park and all the nurses and staff there.
St. Jude's is my hospital because it's my family's hospital. This is where I was born, and so I was very excited to have my children be born here as well. The baby had an imperforate anus and needed surgery, and she got transferred to Chalk, and I was here by myself because I had a C-section, and the nurses were amazing at keeping me company, keeping my spirits up, and taking care of me, because nobody comes to visit you when you don't have a baby at the hospital with you. It was just a great experience, even though it was a tough time for us, but I was really happy that we ended up here.
St. Jude is my hospital because we live 1 mile north of the hospital. I had my back surgery almost 45 years ago to the day, and I am currently president of the St. Jude Guild, the volunteers, the adult volunteers. The thing that has brought me close to the hospital is that I've been involved in various ways, actually since the 80s. So I've seen the hospital grow and change. I've been on several committees. But the thing that attracts us is the opportunity to give back, to be part of an incredible organization that has the strongest culture of support and caring of any organization that I have ever been part of. St. Jude is the model for a caring, supportive, involved culture. It's a joy to be part of it.
St. Jude is my hospital because my husband was born here, and while he was in high school, he was in a car accident and was cared for while he was in a coma here for a week. And St. Jude is just the patron saint. We've had 4 children here. I've lost 4 kids here. I've been working here since 1987, and I couldn't think of a better place to spend my time.
St. Jude is my hospital because it's played such an important role in my family, not only with my dear mother, but with my husband. Some 14 years ago, the late, great Dr. Del Campo saved his life. And 3 years ago, he was diagnosed with cancer, my husband, and they not only saved his life, but extended it for another 2.5 years. For this, I'm ever grateful.
St. Jude is our hospital because they helped our 3-pound 11-ounce baby, who is now in the 8th percentile, and they took care of me, Mama, for 7 days, and her for 9 days.
St. Jude's is my hospital because the care and compassion that I have received in the last 15+ years that I've been a patient at St. Jude's has been phenomenal. 8 years ago, I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and the cancer center, I can't say enough about everyone at the cancer center, from the lab technicians to the nurses to the doctors to the infusion nurses. Everyone has just treated me with such care and compassion. I just can't say enough about it. It's just the most fabulous place.
St. Jude's is our hospital because they took care of our family during our pregnancy, both myself because I had extremely high blood pressure, and Ashlyn, who was born 1 pound, 10 ounces at 26 weeks. And we spent 97 days in the NICU, and they cared for us and helped us bring her home.
I would think that one of the things that draws me to the hospital is the fact that the staff at the hospital are involved in what's going on and advising the community as to what they are doing. And if you don't know, then you can't support. But if you know what they're doing, then people in the community would support it and are supporting it, I believe. I've been there for surgery and second to none. And so I just look at it that it's a community-type hospital where the people participating in it are part of the community.
Yeah, it's true. And I too have been there for 2 surgeries, and I can't speak highly enough for the nurses and the staff and the doctors. They've all just been great, just great.
St. Jude is my hospital because of the staff, the neonatal staff, the respiratory therapy staff, and it's a pleasure to come to work every day, which I've been doing for now 35 years. I work in a number of hospitals in Orange County, but St. Jude is my hospital because of the staff members that keep me excited about coming to work, take care of the patients, do a heck of a good job for the patients.
St. Jude is my hospital because in 1973 my husband needed to live close to work, and work was at St. Jude, so we moved to Fullerton, and we've been a part of St. Jude ever since, more and more involved as patients, as a community. I think their volunteer program is absolutely fantastic because it's a community for those people who are volunteers. I have served as a volunteer member of the board for the foundation, and I just love the hospital. I've been a patient there. My husband has been a patient there, and the care is unbelievable, just so caring.
St. Jude is my hospital because of the history that my husband and I have there with our family. He was a physician on staff for 30 years. I trust the hospital for picking good doctors, and the high technology that is available is unmatched by any other place. And I trust that I can get there in time too, because I only live 1.5 miles from the hospital. And the convenience of it is a good factor for me as well.
St. Jude is my hospital because we moved here in Fullerton in 1959, and we had 1 daughter at the time. And St. Jude has played quite a part in our lives. They've been there at some of the biggest moments we've had. We've had 2 daughters were born here, and 3 grandchildren. We have some great-grandchildren also, several of them. And we've been patients, all of our family, from tonsillectomies to pacemaker implants. And we've been very, very fortunate to been able to participate in many functions of St. Jude.
St. Jude, to me, is the model of a community hospital, or what a community hospital should be and can be. And that is that it provides all the advantages of a neighborhood hospital and everything that that affords, but also because of the relationships they've forged, the doctors, the technology, the clinical trials, they have brought in a lot of the benefits of research hospitals. And that is the best of both worlds, and we're extremely fortunate to have that in our community.
St. Jude is my hospital because in 1976, living in Ireland, we became aware of this great hospital. My dad was battling cancer. He'd been battling cancer for 4 years. And thanks to the intervention of Dr. Gordon McCoy, the surgeon at St. Jude, my dad got on his very first flight ever at 70 years of age. He came out to California, and the doctors in Ireland said, he's wasting his time, he'll be dead in 6 months. He came to St. Jude, he had surgery, and because of that wonderful surgery, the wonderful care, my dad lived for 8 more years. and it was not the cancer that took him, it was a ruptured aneurysm. And for folks who live in California and for folks who know no other healthcare system, no other healthcare service such as we get at St. Jude, they could be forgiven for taking it for granted, but I will never take St. Jude for granted, and we must never take it for granted. And as you can tell, it's very emotional to me because St. Jude gave me my dad. He saw our son be born, grow up, you know, to become a child, and we're just very devoted to the hospital. In fact, all my family in Ireland refer to it not as St. Jude, but to it as Pop's Hospital.
St. Jude is our hospital because starting out with, we both were actually born at St. Jude's with the same doctor, actually delivered us. We love it that it's just a local community hospital. We both volunteer there. We've done a lot over the years with St. Jude's, and it's just wonderful to have the best staff you could ever ask for, the doctors, nurses, all the way down to admin. It's just the best.
St. Jude is my hospital because I've lived here for 48 years, just down the street from the hospital. I've seen it grow from the old emergency room to the new emergency room, and seen the buildings grow and take in more and more patients. And right now I'm a fire captain with the Fullerton Fire Department, and I'm a paramedic. And now I respond taking patients into the emergency room and using that hospital to its fullest. And also my wife is an employee at St. Jude Hospital. That's why St. Jude's my hospital.